Hello and welcome. I am in a hotel room right now and feeling very self-critical. Today was supposed to be a much funner day, and I woke up not feeling quite well. And then I got bad vertigo and started to get the kind of headache that feels like it could turn into a migraine. So I took myself right back to bed. Orange juice. Now it's 5 hours later and I'm feeling like I can function at least. But there's not an armrest there. Meh. I feel a little bit more human. Okay, so update. As far as like dance classes go, I'm kind of just taking a little pause from that. The holidays are just making it harder to align schedule-wise. I did reach out to that dance studio and I haven't heard back, but I did reach out to them. My friend, so I came to New York for the holidays. I don't know, Thanksgiving is such a heavy holiday now. I feel guilty celebrating it. So we came to the one that I came for Halloween to New York with, how's that for a sentence? We came here for Thanksgiving. He loved watching the Moulin Rouge. He liked it because it has a bunch of modern music and songs that he knew. So he was really into it and wanted to go see the Rockettes. So we have a ticket. We have 2 tickets, actually, one for each of us, to go see the Rockettes. And I think I'm gonna be able to go as long as they take it easy, which is a questionable assumption, because I feel guilty about that. But the big update, the update that I'm like nervous about for myself, for my advisor, for even saying, is this week I've been all over the place this week. On Tuesday I was in Boston to see a classmate who lives on the West Coast, on the East Coast to see family. So I went to Boston, we hung out for the day, and they were saying to me, we connected over like Starhawk and reclamation traditions and the idea of re-enchantment, and they said to me, I wish I could bring magic into my dissertation. And I was like, yes, you have to do it. And they said they're already doing things like that, things like pulling tarot cards to support the direction of their research. And that reminded me, especially when I was at Goddard, I've said this many times, but Goddard truly was this space for radical education. And so I knew people who had done very interesting enchanted research. They were like, one person wrote his thesis on the tarot and how the tarot is like a doorway to consciousness, and used the tarot to formulate his dissertation question. He graduated this semester I arrived, so I never got to know him much. Then someone else that I did spend a couple semesters with, in her thesis, she channeled another being. And I don't think the point here is whether you believe in tarot or not, or whether you believe that it's possible to channel someone or something else's energy. The point is that it's already happening in academia. And so it made me realize that while I have been researching other things, researching the body, researching pleasure, starting to veer into researching performing arts, this whole entire time I've actually been having this other research project in the background, which is enchanting research, and I do pull tarot cards. I haven't tried channeling for any of my academic writing per se, but again, I think that depends. It very much depends on the framing. In another way, I can say that I have, and that I've even taught academic workshops on it, which anyways, I'm not gonna get into all of that. So I just had this sudden realization this week that all the time that I've been researching these things, I've had this parallel project happening at the same time. And right now it's just a little bit necessary. Or I don't even know if it is necessary. Like it feels necessary. And when I think, so I'm stuck and I have to reach out to my advisor, but I think what I'm going to present her is that I have these two research interests. I have the performance art track, and then I have the enchanted research track. And will they blend? Maybe. Will I choose one over the other? Maybe. But right now I'm already researching both somewhat accidentally, so I'm going to be more purposeful about it. And it just feels to me that actually the enchanted research track is the track that could have the most impact, but like external impact. But I am now so attached to the performance art track being this internal reclamation that I really don't want to give it up. And I'm afraid that if I give it up for research, that it will be just one of the many things that gets sacrificed along the way. But people are already, even people who don't believe in woo-woo, don't believe in tarot, don't believe in channeling, will talk about things like synchronicities and intuition and research. And the people I talk to who don't do that, like I'm thinking of one person in particular I've talked to who finished their master's thesis. They had a plan in mind, they had a roadmap in mind, they stuck to it, they followed it through to the end, graduated. That person is incredibly dissatisfied with the time that they spent on the project and with the product, and said that they wished that they had spent more time in this enchanted process of allowing things to emerge. So I'm not saying that everyone is doing enchanted research, because there's definitely a more productive and efficient path forward to not do it, but it's also a less satisfying path forward. Meanwhile, there's already a ton of people doing it, and so that got me thinking about women and other oppressed identities throughout history who obviously have existed but have been left out of the written record, and so or called anonymous, or they're contributions were attributed to white men. I'm thinking like right now, because enchanted research is frowned upon or it's not thought of as rigorous, that hasn't erased it from the process. It's only erased it from the documented outcomes in quite a lot of cases. So shedding light on that, the part that gets tricky though is like I don't want to be the traditional anthropologist, and I don't want to just go find people doing enchanted research and study them like through my lens, right? I want to be doing it too. And if anything, at the end of the day, what I would love to do, there's two books that I'm thinking of. One is called Research is Ceremony by Sean Wilson. And Sean Wilson is Indigenous, wanted to bring Indigenous methodologies to his research. That wasn't really present in the literature and thus wasn't allowed, right? We're supposed to be building upon, not necessarily building new. And so Wilson wrote this book about research as ceremony, research as this reciprocal relationship rather than extractive relationship, in part so that future scholars would have this academic text to pull from, to cite, to say that there is precedence for this type of methodology. So I'm thinking about that. And then there's another book called The Radical Imagination, which is quite similar in that they were documenting a different methodological process. And that one, The Radical Imagination, helped me finish my master's thesis because of the whole thing. I transferred in, I didn't have time to develop a relationship with the new community, so instead I turned to my email list, and I was kind of doing creating ephemeral community. And so that book helped me write my methodology chapter, and I found it very helpful. So that's kind of like the end that I have in mind with this project, is creating some kind of artifact at the end of this process that can be used by others to bring enchantment into their research. And I feel this is so important, in part because I'm thinking about both the past and I'm thinking about the future. I'm thinking about ancient alchemists. Everyone likes to talk about how the ancient alchemists were the modern scientists' ancestors, but no one really wants to talk about the work that these ancestors were doing. Right? They were in their laboratory mixing elements, but they weren't just trying to turn lead into gold exterior. They were trying to have this internal process of alchemy within, of changing themselves as they were changing these exterior elements, because they had an animate magical worldview that disappeared with the emergence of Cartesian philosophies. So hearkening back to what did we lose, how can we bring it back in? Then also thinking to the past, to Carl Jung, very magical thinking, and along with Freud, helped create psychotherapy, which has been, a blessing and a curse to society. But I would argue mostly a blessing. And that the curse part has mostly been like capitalism and individualism instead of individuation in this like modern prevalence of therapy speak and all of that. But Jung, very magical, very influential. And then thinking towards the future by positioning myself in the present, I'm thinking of a couple of things, but mostly AI. And everyone, regardless of industry, I think is in a little bit of a panic about what do we do now that AI is here. And I had just seen this article saying that, I think they called it adversarial poetry. So AI now has more rules, internal rules that it has to stick to, right? In order to make it safe for us, the user. And people are constantly trying to get around these rules. And they found that adversarial poetry could get the AI chat to ignore its guardrails 68% of the time. And so for me, poetry is enchanted. Poetry is a lens into enchantment. Poetry is a way to communicate that which is so hard to communicate. And so poetry goes hand in hand to me with enchanted research. And so that's the part that I would love to dive more into as well, like these modern implications. To answer my question from the last video or the video before, like how can I not use AI and still get the work done? I'm going to get it done by doing highly original creative work. And I am going to do highly original creative work by making it enchanted research. So there's a lot going on here, a lot to explore, and I'm really wanting to weave in the performance art piece, and I'm not sure if it's going to be parallel, like interdisciplinary. One of the first thoughts that I had was thinking about how academia has become so rigid, and now we have all of these rules and the proper way to do things. And then I was thinking about how another discipline that became very rigid and militarized is dance, specifically thinking about like ballet, and then looking to the history of contemporary dance, which has broken out of that rigid structure in order to create something new, in order to create what a lot of contemporary dancers will refer to as movement research and a way of creating new knowledge. So I'm thinking that's one potential aspect, is this like parallel study of a discipline that has already succeeded in a sense in doing some of this. Okay. I don't have any strong connections. Let's just put that out there. Then another way I was thinking about it is thinking about the disciplining of our bodies in general, and then thinking about all of these thinkers who talk about the importance of movement to the cognitive process, and how most people will typically use walking. And then I was kind of thinking about why that was. And even if I'm remembering correctly, like even for a time, like women going walking was like a little too out there. So at one time, even walking was like a little bit radical, but it's still like a very polite form of movement. It's like pretty respected by everyone. Like, yeah, I'm going for a walk. Well, that's not true. There are some places where if you say that, people will look at you like you're insane. Like places with a lot of highways and places, you know, especially I think places in America are not built. Anyways, that's not what I'm talking about. Get out of here, idea. walking is kind of tame, especially if you compare it to contemporary or ecstatic dance. So thinking, how would that affect my cognitive process if I allowed this kind of emergent movement rather than the fairly predictable one foot in front of the other process of walking. So there's that, and then I'm also thinking about my artist statement. That I didn't film it as an artist statement, but it's on this channel called From the Body of the Earth. I did an embodied documentary about my relationship with clay. I was like, what, and then so that combined with the class I took last fall, where our final project was doing a translation project, meaning that we needed to take a concept we had learned in class and translate it for a different audience. And so in order to make it accessible to a different audience. And so I was thinking about that. For that class I wrote a poem, but I was thinking about what did this embodied documentary process do, this performance art piece. I went into the woods and I got naked and I covered myself in clay and I did a voiceover of my relationship and experience with clay. I frequently will do little videos of myself in the pottery studio, and that documents my process, which is, it's a craft. Pottery is a craft, and so it's, what am I trying to say here? Like there's a certain level of mastery. I'm not a pottery master, I want to put that out there, but there's like, I think I'm always working towards more mastery of this language of clay. And so I can show that side of things, this like mastery production side of things, the making process. But what I hope to have shown in this embodied documentary that I never show when I'm filming myself at the pottery wheel is the internal state, the internal alchemy that's happening as I am transforming the clay, what is transforming inside of me. And so this performance art piece was able to document this internal knowledge, document and share this internal knowledge in a way that I struggled to do otherwise, and that felt more accurate when I shared it, even to people who don't understand. Like I had some people watch it and love it, and some people watch it and say, yeah, I got that, and some people watch it and be like, I have no idea. Why are you dancing naked and muddy in the woods? So just thinking like, what does art contribute to knowledge, specifically enchanted knowledge? All right, I'm gonna start wrapping this up. Talking too much, I'm starting to feel a bit tired. Trying to think if I have any last parting words. It's all very exciting. I am excited about it. But I'm also like a little bit irritated because I'm like, I spent so long with no ideas, and now I have 2 ideas that I'm like, well, now I can't let either one of them go, and I'm really bad at compromise. I'm like, why compromise when I can have everything that I want? I don't know. So that's where I am now in the research process. I might go see the Rockettes tonight if I have the energy, if this headache truly goes away. Then back to Vermont, back to getting these papers done, back to my embodied enchanted research. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.